All right, so welcome back everybody. This should be a fun episode right here. It's one that I've been wanting to do for a couple of years, and now that, well, I have a slight addiction to trees and firewood and have a few available here, I suppose now's the time to do this. So what are we doing today? I recently got my hands on some very affordable chainsaw chains for a couple of my Stihl chainsaws. And I've always run the premium Stihl chainsaw chains, and they are becoming very, very expensive. So these chains are literally a fraction of the price and cost. And I want to see, are they just as good? Are they a lot worse? Who knows until we run them. So in today's test, we're gonna run a couple different saws, a couple different brand new chains, a brand new Stihl chain, a brand new chain right here from a company called Hypa. And we're gonna time our cuts, and I'm gonna give my feedback on, do I feel like it's cutting slower, better? We'll look at the chain stretch and a few things like that. And then as I cut up all this firewood over the next many, many months, I'm gonna run some of these chains and kind of give a long-term review on it. Because here's the crazy part, y'all. The majority of the chains that I'm testing today from Stihl are around $30 to $40. Well, they're going up from there for my really big saw. They've made a pretty significant leap. Now you can find some of the chains a few dollars less than that, but regardless, these chains right here, if you get them in a 2 and 3 pack off of Hypa's website, by the way, links down in the description, I'm seeing some of these chains for like $5, $6, and $7 each. Insanely cheap, a fraction, sheer fraction of the cost of the Stihl chains right here. Now with all that said, you may get exactly what you pay for. I don't know till we run this test. But the thing of it is, I can see where people are gonna desire a chain like this. Say you're cutting trees out of an old fence line. You think there's a risk you're gonna hit some metal. You're cutting stumps off or trees down at the base because you're clearing trails and stuff like I once did. And you think you're gonna be cutting trees off at the base, and you know you're gonna be hitting sand and dulling your chains up, maybe cutting around rocks, things like that. You may wanna throw on a $5 to $7 chain versus a $30 to $40 chain. That's for sure where I can see that I'm gonna keep some of these on hands right here. Here's what we're gonna do. I got brand new chains from Hypa and from Stihl. We're gonna run on 2 different saws right here, and we're gonna cut 2 different size pieces of wood that I have out here, and then I'm gonna go back, edit this, and time them, and we'll see, are they any quicker? We're gonna look at chain stretch and see if one's stretching quicker than the other. And I should also mention, today's video is sponsored by Hypa. Y'all see me use this company recently. They have everything you could imagine for your chainsaws, weed eaters, generators, lawnmowers, you name it. They specialize in maintenance kits, carburetors, air filters, chainsaw chains, tune-up kits, all the stuff you can imagine. Here's the really cool part. They reached out to me and said, we want to give some stuff away to your viewers. Are you interested in making a video? I said, actually, yeah, I've been looking at some of your chainsaw chains and I want to make a comparison video. And we're going to be honest about it today. So I'm thinking, all right, they want to give away, 1 or 2 things. Guess what they told me? No, they want to do 20 giveaways, y'all. 20 giveaways. Either they're going to give away 20 chainsaw chains, or they're now doing a promotion on their spark plugs. They carry these for all your saws, weed eaters, everything else. It's gonna be your choice right there. So if you'll look down in the description, there's a form to go fill out on their website. They're gonna pull 20 names, and well, 20 of you are gonna get to choose between chainsaw chains to fit your chainsaw or spark plugs, whatever you want. They're also gonna cover shipping, send the stuff right to you. I do wanna say real quick, I'm always nervous about doing giveaways because there's so much spam nowadays on social media. If anybody contacts you claiming to be us, because sometimes they'll steal our thumbnail pictures and all, and act like you've won and ask for you to pay for things, it is a scam. You should be getting contacted via email from this form that you're gonna go fill out if you wanna apply. Read the rules below. And FYI, YouTube is not sponsoring this giveaway at all. It's between the Kelley's Country Life and the company Hypa. All right, so I'm gonna start out with my Stihl MS170, probably my favorite little go-to chainsaw. Easy to throw in the back of the truck, the Ranger, anytime we have storm damage and trees down. All right, so let's take a look at these chains. By the way, disregard these very, very like 10 or 12-year-old prices on these chains. I priced them recently, see all the dust. They're no longer that current price, but this is a brand new chain. So pulling the Hypa chain out, we'll run it first. So all you gotta do is match up your pitch. This is a 3/8 Pico chain that we run on the small Stihl saws. Here's where you gotta pay attention. 0.43 gauge, or they have a 50 gauge, I do believe. So look on the side of your saw bar, and you can see all this information right there. There's the 0.43 gauge, 3/8 Pico, 55 drive lengths is what that 55 right there means. And you can quickly match all that information up right here on the front and order the proper chain. By the way, these smaller chains are semi-chisel and low kickback, which is also what I'm running right here. You see the green on Stihl. Typically, this is all you can find on their smaller saws. That's a low kickback chain as well. So let's take a look at it. They claim, y'all, that this is German Stihl. I have no way to verify that, but that's already good if it is. And you can see the cutters, see the coloration? Those are hardened cutters. So overall, I mean, it's a chain. If what they claim is correct, we're already money ahead on the quality of the steel and the hardened sharpeners. All right, let's remove the old chain. And a quick comparison, which this is a heavily sharpened chain, shows that the tooth appears to be much larger on the hypo chain. Now this one is heavily filed down, but still, even looking, looks like it may have started out as a slightly larger tooth. It's hard to say. And that could go against it in the cutting if it's far more aggressive. All right, got my new chain on with what I consider adequate tension. I already know it's going to stretch being a brand new chain, so I don't mind starting off a little snug. Yes, I'm wearing shorts today. It's almost 100 degrees in Florida, but I do have my chaps on. So what we're going to be cutting right here, this is all oak behind me. It's water oak. It's a southern type of oak. This is about an 8-inch log. It's very consistent all the way down for the cuts that we're going to make right here. So I'm going to make 3 cuts with each chain. We'll go back and edit, and I'll throw the times up here on screen, and we'll see how they cut. And I'll give my honest feedback on it. So we're starting with the Stihl MS170, my smallest saw, with the hypo chain first. All right, the hypo chain is very aggressive, throwing big chunks. I kind of figured that when I looked at the tooth design. So I'm gonna be a little easier on the saw. Let's start the 3 cuts right now. It's my first time ever using that chain, so I need to learn it. All right, already got a little chain stretch as expected on a brand new chain. And let's take a look at these chunks it's throwing. I mean, my Lord, this looks like the chips. I mean, it's definitely a sharp chain by the size of these chips. But that looks like what typically my big saws throw. All right, so now I have the Stihl chain on. I can tell you, I can already see a significant difference between the cutting teeth. The hypo chain looked like they called it semi-chisel, but it looks like what I'd call a full chisel chain, whereas the Stihl chain is a low kickback safety chain, and it's got much smaller cutters, and they're designed to be less aggressive and less kickback, which is not a bad thing on a very small saw like this. Typically, they lack the power to pull a full chisel chain. So my gut says this one's gonna be smoother and cut faster. But let's see. All right, so thoughts. I definitely feel like the Stihl chain cut a little quicker, although it was slower than I was thinking it was going to be. A little small CC saw like this is excellent for limbing and cutting small brush and things like that. Not for cutting hardwood logs, so to speak. I also feel like the hypo chain had a little more chatter to it. That's probably because of the more aggressive tooth design, so that makes sense as well. Regardless, they both cut through okay. I don't know the times just yet. Now you do. We'll throw them up right here on which one was the winner on the fastest cut. I can also say the Stihl, although this is only 3 cuts, appears to have less chain stretch right off the rip than the hypo did. All right, so now let's move up into a middleweight saw, much more CCs than the little MS170 I ran. And typically on my MS260 Pro right here, I run a full chisel chain, no low kickback safety chains. And I expect the hypo chain to be a full chisel chain. Now this right here is a 2-pack, and I honestly think last time I was on their website, it was $14 for a 2-pack. And not much more money for a 3-pack. Like, you can get these chains down dirt cheap. So I'm trying to keep all that in mind as I'm reviewing these. So similar to the other chain, obviously much bigger cutters, hardened teeth. They also claim German Stihl as well. At least that's what I've seen on the website. All right, so we're gonna do a couple of speed tests right here. I'm gonna cut this same 8-inch oak log. Then we're gonna move over to another one that I have set up over there that's probably 12+ inches. So we're starting with the hypo chain again. Make 3 cuts here, move the camera over there, make 3 cuts, time them all out in editing, swap over to the brand new Stihl chain, and repeat 3 cuts here, 3 cuts there. Then we'll make our final verdict. This hardwood is no joke. So this is about as big of a logs as I like cutting with this weight saw right here, and you can see. So on that 3rd cut, I stalled it several times, probably me forcing it a bit much. So I decided to do a 4th cut, and we'll just throw that one out, average them in. And if I have the same problem with the Stihl chain, I'll do the same exact thing. All right, so now we're running the Stihl chain, and I almost messed up. I just looked and seen that I had brought down a green chain. I didn't even realize I even owned green or low kickback chains for my medium-sized saw. So I had to run back up and get a yellow chain, or what's called full chisel chain, to be a comparable cut right here. So if you've seen me pull out a green pack at the beginning of the video, that was my bad. I did just catch that though. All right. So we're gonna have to go back and run the times. But if I'm being perfectly honest, the Stihl chain once again felt smoother, less chatter. The saw sounded healthier. There was less bogging, actually zero bogging with that chain. $5 to $7 chain versus a $30 to $40 chain. My expectations are that $30 to $40 chain needs to cut better to justify the price increase. So the comparison between the Hypa chain and Stihl original chains, again, the big takeaways that I can think of, we don't know the numbers yet, I'll throw those up. My gut says the Stihl was cutting faster, although I don't think it was cutting a whole lot faster personally, but it was smoother, it had less chatter, less strain on the saw. I just feel like the Hypa chains are very aggressive, and it appears they're taking bigger chunks out of the log. It's not necessarily a bad thing. And there appeared to be less stretch with the Stihl chains as far as comparing two brand new chains side by side. Now over the long run, are they going to continue to stretch, or does Hypa just stretch a little bit to begin with? I won't be able to answer that until I do a lot of cutting. So what am I saying? Final verdict is, I think, me personally, I'm going to continue to run the Stihl chains for all my cutting. They just seem to perform well, and I sharpen my chains so I get my money's worth out of them. That's where I want to talk about the Hypa chains, because I can see these being very popular for a lot of people. Again, I'm actually going to turn around and order me a few more of these. I see value in these, I really do. If I'm cutting gummy, nasty old pine trees, cutting fence line trees, I know it's going to have wire and staples and everything else in it. If I'm cutting close to the ground, cutting stumps, and I'm going to be hitting sand and damaging chains around rocks, I can think of a million scenarios to where I'd much rather damage, again, a $5 to $7 chain than a $30 to $40 chain. And if you're the type of individual that you don't resharpen your chains, this may be perfect for you. It's much easier to throw away a $5 to $7 chain than, again, a 30 or 40. Now, I'm a big believer, if I'm spending that kind of money on a Stihl chain, I've got all the Stihl sharpeners. I personally believe in sharpening my chains. All right, so that was a fun little test. I have got a ton of wood behind me. We're going to slowly start cutting it up over the next couple of months as, well, we start getting out of the heat of summer. It's killing me right now, but I was itching to get down here and do a little cutting. So I want to thank Hypa. They've been an awesome sponsor of the channel. Y'all, if you have a chainsaw, weed eater, generator, push mower, anything like that that's not running correctly, they have the most amazing deals. I've seen full carburetor kits for $5 on sale, and then I see their normal prices 18 to 20 bucks. So if you need to do a full saw tune up, or for any of your other equipment, they carry everything. They don't just carry chainsaw chains. And thank you to Hypa for sponsoring a giveaway in this video. Y'all don't forget, go read the rules down in the description. They're giving away 20 chainsaw chains packages. I don't know what all they're going to do, but it's going to be chains, and or you can get spark plugs, your choice. They'll have a little form you can fill out and tell them exactly what it is that you're needing, what you're running, all that good stuff. That's the best way to do this type of a giveaway. And man, they're hooking 20 people up. We've never had anybody offer that. So that alone made me want to make this video. And I just wanted to see what's the big difference between a super cheap chain and an expensive one. So I'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you like seeing little videos like this? Do you find the super cheap chain more of a value for you and your type of cutting, or are you going to fork out the money on the expensive chain? I'd love to hear it. Again, for me, doing everyday cutting, I want the expensive chain here in this type of scenario where I know the chain's got potential damage. I want the cheap chains, and I'm going to get me a few more in stock here. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next video.